Let me fetch the YouTube link so I can tweet that as well. Funny, I literally just started a stream. Already have in the establishment followed. Thank you for the follow. I am fishing for a new time slot right now. A lot of people who usually don't have time to watch my stream. I usually stream around 3 p.m. Eastern time. But late night is fun. I think some of my comrades say they down. So once you're in here, say what's up. I have a lot to talk about. You guys see the title of this video. And I guess I'm about to be the first person to report on it. I mean, The Guardian, they did the story. They had amazing investigative journalists looking into that. But what we are here for as activists and as people who communicate is frame the issues. And The Guardian doesn't really frame the issue that well. Once again, all props to the journalists for writing the story. They deserve all the props for that. But the headline of this story should have been, the U.S. military is poisoning the black community. We get into the details soon. I'll tweet this out today. Like, guys, if you guys gonna like and retweet anything I tweet, this is it. Because this should be a scandal. A massive scandal. Let me get my YouTube link out. Discussing the U.S. military poisoning the black community. This is environmental racism in action. A lot of dumbasses pretend they don't know what environmental racism is. Like it's not fucking obvious. It's literally in the name. Shout out to Michael Tracy. Rocky Flame in the house. Don't be shy, guys. I see we got some people in the stream. Rocky Flame never shy. Say what's up. We here late night tonight. 5-second pose. In the house. What you had to say? How can we even be shocked by this? Everything this government has done since its birth, this doesn't even shock me. Yeah, I understand that. This doesn't shock me as well. The important thing is never to allow these crimes against humanity to be lessened. You know what I mean? Like, never allow it to be normalized. So when I hear this story about the U.S. military poisoning disenfranchised communities, it doesn't shock me one bit. But I won't allow them to pacify my anger. So even though it doesn't shock me, I'm gonna tweet and I'm gonna communicate as if I'm under the guise of U.S. propaganda. Big Boss in the house. Thank you for the follow. He also continued, Forgiving Chi in the house. What's up, my friend? Mini Rania. She been dropping truth bombs on Twitter recently. Nah, you hear what I said. RJ said you about to hop on. Let's go. Go. I was ready to I was really excited about doing our Friday show, but we can have a late night show. Forgive me, you already know. I mean, I don't have a lot. Our people still rolling in, so I can admit this. I had a little bit of smoke, so I'm having fun today. RJ, jump on. I need your thoughts. You guys saw what I've been tweeting about tonight. You guys know what I've been tweeting about tonight. I'm talking about all of that. I'm talking about all of that. I've been... Fuck. Like, the political discourse right now is so dumb. It's so dumb. Cancel culture, Dr. Seuss. All this fucking culture war nonsense. It's even crazier when you realize what's going on right now. Like, you struggle to find what to cover when you do shows like this. This is why I do 2-hour streams. Because there's so much bullshit that's happening. But meanwhile, people are talking about stupid fucking shit. That's why the one thing I hate about Twitter is I'm forced to see stories about celebrities and shit. I've done an amazing job at avoiding that stuff for a very long time. Like blind. I'm super razor in my focus. But in Twitter and social media, which I never really used it that much until recently, you can't really avoid it, especially when you're following a lot of people like I am. All right, Forgiving Chi, what are you talking about? What are you talking about, Forgiving Chi? My YouTube is not where it's at. You guys been seeing what they've been doing to YouTube independent content creators. Hitting me fucking hard too. Hitting me hard too. All right, RJ's in the house. All right, let me fix the screen so they can see you. What's up, RJ? I literally just getting started. Just ran in the Raven, but I already kind of broke down the initial story. We're gonna actually look into the story of the U.S. military poisoning the black community. We're gonna get into that very soon. I was tweeting about some additional things that Bernie said during his interview. Also, I did want to talk about this too as well. The Supreme Court gave a giant L to the police state, which was very surprising to me. Did you get a chance to check any of those out, RJ? I'm about to tweet this out here real quick.
I'm learning with you. I mean, hey.
Yeah, we covered that. We did cover that. We did go over, and then I can get your reaction as I cover it. Discussing. What was I about to say? Oh yeah, the military. Military poisoning the black community. Why do I struggle to spell poisoning? That's just so annoying. So let's see what I've been missing in the chat so far. Rocky Flame, Forgiving Chi, holding down. Once again, this is we're doing late night. I see RJ on camera now. Like I said, I was doing a lot of stuff, but late night to be more chill. But once again, I've been seeing so many stories. I was like, all right, I'm not gonna really tweet that much for the next few days. But it's like, bro, there's so much things that upsetting me. Forgiving Chi said I'm light years better than last week. What? Oh yeah, I see. But Forgiving Chi been dropping true bombs too. All right, let's dive into the story though. I think we have enough people in here where I actually can discuss it. I tweeted this out unapologetically, I think 3 times, because I'm like, guys, if we're gonna talk about anything, this is it. This is it. That's the story on the Supreme Court. Like I said, I just did a late night show out of nowhere, but I got most of my tweets pulled up here. My internet's being a little slow. What's been on your radar, RJ? Anything you've been following today?
Just Biden proving himself to be the warmonger we always knew he was. It's just now he doesn't have to pretend because Trump is so bad, apparently.
Oh yeah, I saw the what the Biden administration was saying out of from their Haiti department, which was insane. I'm gonna actually get into it so I can have more details. But it's one of the things you hear Joe Biden quote where they're just telling him don't go and doing the same.
Don't come.
Yeah, don't come. And we dive into the real quote, but it's like literally straight out of Trump. Like this is the same kind of stuff that they were saying. So when people say I'm talking shit when I say Joe Biden is the same as Donald Trump, bro, I have countless examples for you guys. Like countless. That's just another one. So this is what one of the things I tweeted out here. Actually, let me just pull the article up because the article itself is pretty damning. Oh Jesus! There you go. The U.S. military is poisoning communities across the United States with toxic chemicals. That's a pretty solid headline. My only complaint I heard earlier, it wasn't really a complaint because I gave these people all the credit for dropping this story. But I said our job as activists and what we are trying to do. A-Box in the house. Thank you for watching. We got Johnny Mangarella on YouTube as well. Wavy God NYC. Thank you for watching. We late tonight. But while saying the job as communicators and political activists, what we have to do is actually properly frame the issues. And that's one of the main things that I did. Like when I would canvass with Bernie Sanders, I mean, I wasn't just using the campaign script. I would frame the issues in a proper way that actually affect their life. And when we talk about this story, it's important. I mean, once again, this headline not bad at all, but I read the story, and I'm glad my tweet is going around, where I said this is the U.S. government poisoning the black community. Because obviously we didn't get into details, but check out who is being affected. So one of the most enduring and indestructible toxic chemicals known to man, I'm going to just say AFFF, right? I don't have to say the whole thing. It's a forever chemical. So there's people that are going to be affected by this for generations. We can get into that here very soon. It's being secretly incinerated next to disenfranchised communities in the United States. And then once you read the story, the examples they give is the black community. So I'm sure there are a lot of people that are being affected by this. But once again, our job is to frame the issues. And I frame the issue from the perspective of the black community because that's where I'm from. And when you look at the black community being featured in this article, I come to the conclusion that the U.S. military is poisoning the black community. Right? This is how you push people to the left. This is how you get people to understand the gravity of state violence, environmental racism, and let people connect the dots that these policies and what they actually do affects people in their everyday life for real. Jan Marie's in the house as well. We got some good people in here. A-Box. We got some people that usually drop some serious knowledge in here. Insidious MG. All right, let's continue on with the story. I cut out a lot of these passages from the article and put it in my tweet. But right here they get into the details of what this chemical was. And I was just learning about this the first time I was reading through the story. AFFF was invented and popularized by, guess who? The U.S. Armed Forces, of course, during the Vietnam War. This carbon fluid bond is virtually indestructible. So this is why this story is so fucked. Because they already said that this is going to be something that impacted the area for generations. And we're going to see later in the story as well, they cover it's going to lead to an increase of cancer. And they even did say, look, here it is right here. They even, I'm gonna put my actually I can't put my mug up there. But as you see here, as we know, the exposure to trace amount of these forever chemicals is strongly linked to a host of cancers, developmental disorders, immune dysfunction, and infertility. Exposure has been linked to aggravated COVID-19 infections and weakened vaccine efficacy. I think that's what that is. Yeah. But once again, that ties into all the other stories because what community being hit the hardest by COVID-19? Your African American community. And you got been linked to aggravated COVID-19 infection. So this kind of stuff that makes things worse.
Yeah, those who are kind of
go ahead, RJ.
Those who are kind of confused about this, it's kind of similar to the Flint water crisis.
Yes.
You know, where you have like obscene amounts of lead in your bloodstream. It affects your brain development. It gives you different types of cancers, different types of sores, aches and pains. It also affects your immune system. So you go from negligence from the Flint water crisis to basically intentional pain inflicted by the government in this instance.
Exactly, well said. And once again, these things have the news media and the corporate media, because obviously they're a business, they have to focus on sensational stories and keep it, and it only can last for just a little bit. But you guys understand these instances are generational. I mean, people that are going through the Flint water crisis is beyond the initial poisoning in Flint. You have people you have children being born with birth defects, serious birth defects they had to live with for the rest of their life. You know the very long term effect. A lot of these. 1 second. All right, I'm back. I hate Discord. But what I was saying, once again, a lot of people don't even know what the long term effects of the Flint water crisis is going to be on a lot of these people as well. Same with this. The one Ronan said, American sperm quality is down. The compounding effects secondary and
Tertiary.
tertiary, whatever. Yeah, that sounds about right. And Cindy said PFAS chemicals in our waterways. Yep. We live in a capitalist hellhole, don't we?
Yeah, I did see that article. For some reason, well, it's not really quality of sperm count; it's the sperm count.
I haven't
So
seen that
apparently,
either. I haven't seen it
yeah,
yet, so I need to look into that. But I trust my homie. Let's see what I'm trying to find some other nuggets I saw in here because a lot of like this is what really well written and detailed, where they give a lot of the history and what AFFF really is and why it's so dangerous. We just covered a lot of things that happened, but this is show the corruption of the U.S. government. This right here, and this is horrific. As does potential liability. Well, we can skip that first part. DOD officials called that science a public relations nightmare, and this is why I tweeted as well. And they tried to suppress the findings. So this is why I said in my initial tweet when I said you had not only the U.S. military poisoning the black community, you had the EPA covering it up. Once again, I didn't get that from the headline, but you click here. This shows that we have a massive military-industrial complex system because they're not even allowed to question the military because this will even be an amazing attack on Trump. You guys know what I mean? So even when they have something that will be a sure winner, because this happened under Trump. I tweeted out today, I don't understand why anyone would say anything sympathetic regarding Trump, regarding how he treated the military, foreign policy, or anywhere throughout. He was a George Bush third term, Obama fifth term, whatever you want to say. It's the same, more of the same. So people who pretend that Trump is anti-establishment or he ever has been, I see a lot of people I even respect that even they kind of hint towards it, even if they don't directly say it. They kind of hint towards it. Oh, he was outside. He shook things up. No, he didn't. Like, what the fuck you talking about? It's more of the same corruption. It's kind of embarrassing because you kind of fell for it. Because you fell for, like, Trump would say stuff like, yeah, I'm the most anti-war president, and there's some people that kind of nod along like, oh, I guess he actually saying anti-imperialist rhetoric, so he must be anti-imperialist. No, stop. Don't be dumb. Look at actually what he does. Early in the Trump administration, I was really attacking the same way I'm attacking Joe Biden right now. You guys see I'm constantly picking apart his policy positions. I was doing that to Trump. And that's why I was getting very frustrated with the liberals, because as someone who was actually watching what Trump was doing, I was getting very frustrated with how they was attacking him. And then that's when I really became radicalized, because that's when I put the two together, when I was like, okay, they're not attacking him on the worst things that he did because they don't want to talk about that. Because Obama, Biden, George Bush, Reagan, Bill Clinton, all of them being complicit with it. Right? The pay-to-play politics. The same shit. Joe Biden and his family famously got wealthy in politics. The same thing we've seen on Donald Trump. You've seen Donald Trump be a paid puppet of Saudi Arabia. You've seen the same thing with Joe Biden. And early on in the Trump administration, I remember when Russiagate first popped off, and if you was actually paying attention to the Trump administration, like I was, once again, I was one of the people that was hitting Trump on policy, because I was like, bro, he's a fraud. Because I'm like, bro, at least Trump be better than Ted Cruz, because at least Trump is pretending to be a populist. That's what I was saying during the Republican primary. I was like, bro, I'll take Donald Trump. I still maintain that. I'll take Donald Trump over Ted Cruz any day, because at least Trump would pretend to be a populist. So then when he becomes president, I can flip right wingers against him, and which I did, because I said, bro, Trump said he's gonna do this. He said he was gonna be tough on Saudi Arabia, but he was a bit. I remember I had that one guy who was that one guy in South Carolina who was mocking me, who was a Trump supporter, and he was like, "You're a socialist. You're un-American." I'm like, "Bitch, you're un-American. Your president is selling you out to Saudi Arabia." And he a puppet of Israel. And then once you bring that stuff up, bro, no, they have nothing. And he was just kind of just looking at me dumbfounded. He just repeated like, "You're a fool, man. You're a fool." And he couldn't, like, that's the kind of stuff you shut down these fraud libertarians and right wingers on. So that was how I was attacking Trump. He was talking about how he was gonna tank TPP, which he did, but he pretty much just did the same trade deal that was just as bad as TPP. I mean, he called out Hillary Clinton for her Wall Street ties, and then he literally put Steven Mnuchin in fucking charge. I think he was the Treasury Secretary, if I remember right. Sorry if I'm misquoting his position, but you guys know what I mean. He literally became a puppet of Goldman Sachs. So when I was attacking Trump, this is how I would attack Trump back in his early days. So people always like, oh, you don't attack Trump that much. I'm like, bro, when I attack Joe Biden, I'm attacking Trump. I'm attacking Trumpism. That's why I'm doing. But the difference now is I tie the two together. Republicans, Democrats are the same thing. They do the same fucking exact same thing. We seen Joe Biden do the same fucking exact same thing. So that's how I attacked Trump. And I got frustrated. I seen people pushing Russiagate. And I'm like, if you pay attention to foreign policy, you saw Donald Trump was constantly doing moves in a geopolitical fashion that went against Russian interests. So if you didn't watch corporate media, you would have. I didn't watch no corporate media, but corporate media don't talk about that. So they just talk about Russiagate, how they had all these stories where that later got debunked. They always did. Meanwhile, if you want people to actually focus on policy, you're like, oh, he arming Ukrainian rebels. He putting up battleships near the Red Sea where Russia is at. He's pulled out a nuclear arm treaty. He's trying to do a Venezuela coup, which go against their interests. There's like constant examples of this. The Trump administration helped tank the deal. Let me try to remember, but that the Russians were working on an oil deal with Germany, and the Trump administration, what they did everything they can to tank that deal. I think they did. So it's like one example after another of Trump going against Russia. And meanwhile, in fancy land, where the fucking liberals are at, they were like, "Oh, Trump is a Putin puppet," despite all the evidence to the contrary. And then you ask all these countries, Iran, Russia, their stance, they're like, bro, just leave us alone. Iran was like, bro, I want to go back in the treaty. Russia even said, like, bro, we have no interest in increasing hostilities with the United States. North Korea just said, like, bro, we just doing our own thing. We got these nukes as a deterrent. But we are an unhinged foreign policy nation. Anyway, I went on a long ass tangent. But my point was, now getting back to that, my point was I would attack Trump on these things. Russiagate, they bring up Russiagate when I know by paying attention to Trump, like, bro, all right, you guys are full of shit. So you guys are afraid to attack the system. You guys are acting as a puppet of the permanent state, the intelligence community. They were literally cheering them on.
One of the things too is
Go ahead.
One of the things too is that a lot of Trump voters, especially Republican voters, I mean, they're the same as Obama Democrats. You know, if you listen to Obama voters before Obama even got in, you know, they treated him like the anti-establishment figure. Then when he got in, even if he did something bad, they would find any excuse in the book not to believe what was happening, or you know, treat him like, oh well, this isn't what he really is trying to do. Like, they defend him at all costs. So Republicans, they found their own Obama, which was Donald Trump. And so now Republican voters are just going to be completely lockstep behind Trump, whether it's good or bad. And that's not really good for the country right now.
I was not targeting Forgivency. I don't know why y'all say that. I don't know why they say that. I was just looking at some of the chat in here. Wavy Guy NYC said the Reagan era hasn't stopped. Yep, I told you all the administrations are exactly the same. In terms of they move in the direction of the U.S. empire. That's pretty much why
I think the reason why they thought you were going after a Forgivency is because she has a stance of like Trump being a non-interventionist, and if you say that in the leftist community, you get ratioed every time. So I think that's kind of the insinuation.
I tweeted about that, and Forgivency, she always been clear that she never gave Trump credit. She was just letting people know that this is how bad the Democratic Party are. That's what she said. I want Forgivency. I hope you know that I wasn't going after you, because she had a tweet where she literally said that. What she said, what I'm saying is not an endorsement of Trump. It's letting you guys know how bad the Biden administration is. And there's, once again, you got the G Hive, you got the AOC Hive, you have these people who they don't believe in any nuance, who they will get mad at you for saying anything that made Trump look better than a fucking crazy Nazi dictator. When you say that Joe Biden just like Trump, when you say Joe Biden is governing just like Trump, that's not me saying that Trump is anywhere near good. My stance has always been Trump is just more of the same. And that was another way you attack Trump too. Because there were a lot of people who thought Trump was this outsider, this anti-establishment figure. My stance always was that was bullshit. He was just some spoiled rich kid who wanted to be part of the club, and his way to get in the club was to run for president. And then he planned, and then once again he didn't really think he was going to win, so he ran, and he was about to use that to get his name out there and create a media company, which just so happened to win. So since he didn't have any plan to win, what he did, he literally just followed the coattails of the Republican Party. So when people pretend that Donald Trump was anti-establishment, I'm like, bro, how can you say Donald Trump is anti-establishment when he got Mike Pompeo in his administration? What the fuck? Like, this doesn't make any sense. He got John Bolton. He got literally one of the most establishment war hawk motherfuckers of all time. He was hiring Goldman Sachs people. And I'm like, you guys are saying Trump is anti-establishment? What the fuck? Okay, so I'm glad they were joking. I'm like, bro, I hope they said they were joking about me. I was like, I don't even want that I don't even want that get out there. But yeah, I don't know. Like, how did I even get in Trump rap? It don't matter. This is a late night show. We just going with the flow. I guess I got finished covering the story. Oh yeah, I think I got there because of the story of the military. And once again, my points always converge, and I want people to understand that it's the state that's the problem. That's the difference between me now and when, I mean, I'll tell you, I joke about when I was a lib, and when I joke about that kind of stuff, I always was anti-establishment in a way, but my conclusions, I would reach the wrong conclusion. You know what I mean? So I would be like, man, I hate the Iraq War. I hate anyone who was involved in the Iraq War. But then the concept of voting for anyone who was supportive of the Iraq War, even I back then knew that was kind of bullshit. But I'll be like, well, we still got to support these warmongers at the end of the day. But now, not anymore. Because the reason why I don't believe in that, because you got to understand what's the problem. If you're one of the people that just think just the party is the problem, that's my criticism of the progressive Democrats, where they're just like, oh, just vote the Republicans out, we're good. That's not the answer. It's literally to dismantle the state systems that lead to these issues, the massive inequalities, the war crimes, the prison industrial complex. Why Joe Biden couldn't get anything in control at the border? Remember, I've been tweeting about that literally for weeks at the lead, and I'm like, bro, you guys think you're gonna stop the border crisis by voting for Joe Biden? You're a fucking idiot. Because this is a state problem, and that's why Joe Biden and his administration, what they say is they can't get ICE under control. Which you can say that's bullshit or not, but that's another reason why you should get rid of ICE, right? Get rid of DHS because there's no oversight. That's anyone who actually look into ICE is why they understand why they need to be abolished, because you can't. There's no way to have oversight on ICE because they've been caught multiple times forging documents and destroying evidence. So if you have an agency that destroys documents and get rid of evidence, and then you have an oversight committee who don't really give a fuck about prosecuting them, my question to the liberals is, how do you reform that? Even if you put, and this is why police reforms don't work. Because if you look at Minneapolis, George Floyd, they reformed the police department 5 years ago before that happened. What happened? They don't fucking listen. Like, bro, who's actually gonna hold them to account on the reforms? Oh, they gonna have someone looking over them. Some guy that he knew the other guy when he was working his way up. They was friends. Then he got promoted. He got his position. Or he knew a friend that worked for the police department who was a cousin who got that job. So they know each other. So when he look into him, you think they really gonna look into him for real? This is the reality of the police force, guys. This is what you're not gonna see that on Law and Order, but this is how it works. I had a friend that told me a story on Twitter. I posted a link in my Defund the Police article where she was assaulted by a guy, sexually assaulted, called the police, and then they kind of let him go. Didn't give a fuck. She looked into it. Guy was related to the police captain. This is the reality of our policing. This is the reality of our state. That's why when I see Biden take over or any Democrat take over, my expectations are still very low.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of been in this cycle since Jimmy Carter, really, in the late 70s, where why
break it
feel
down.
like the demise of America started, mostly because, you get a Democrat who makes people feel good, but it puts everyone to sleep. meaning that you don't rise up against your oppressive, fascist government when they commit atrocities,
Yep.
right? So everyone goes to sleep. Then the oligarchs install a right wing asshole like a Ronald Reagan, which was after Jimmy Carter, to break down all the reforms that were put in place to help labor and working class people that Ronald Reagan did. Then you get pretty face, uh, Bill Clinton afterwards. I know there's George H.W. Bush, but he was the same as Reagan. Then you get a Clinton who does it even more. Then you get Bush, still pretty face too, does the same evil shit as Reagan. Then you get an Obama, pretty face, same shit as the Clintons. So it's a never-ending cycle, and I just struggle with how we're gonna actually break this cycle.
Yeah, it's so much to deal with because you realize you can't vote these people out. We can't vote them out. Nothing, no matter
And
what we do.
we're also too poor and too disenfranchised and too disorganized to actually create an organized labor movement and have general strikes. I mean, COVID has fucked that over because in normal times we'll be striking, protesting, organizing, but due to COVID restrictions and lockdowns, you can't gather in a facility with so many people at one point at one time. And also due to the COVID economy, people don't have the money to are willing to be going on strike. People are scared economically. So that's one way the establishment has that type of oppressive force over us.
Yep, and that's exactly why they want to make sure they get people back in school, make sure they open up everything, get people distracted. And this is was something that really upsetted me for a while because I was saying throughout the course of the summer and the fall, I was saying I was hoping these protests keep up. Like, I want to see these protests under the Biden administration. But unfortunately, Biden lulled a lot of people to sleep. Once again, there's also that other factor that RJ bring up, the fact that a lot of people are just working, they don't have time to really focus on social justice issues. But this is the problem with the Democratic Party. You got people who they are outraged and they are immigration activists during the Republican administration. But then when the Democrats take charge, they do nothing but apologize for the state. That's what they're doing with Joe Biden. Same facilities. I mean, we seen the unhinged comments that come out of Blue MAGA where they were literally getting upset with reporters for asking. I mean, they was asking at his press conference, will you allow reporters access to your facilities? This is not an unreasonable question. Because Joe Biden said in the campaign he's going to be all about transparency. So the media just said, let us in. You guys realize that Donald Trump did that, right? Donald Trump allowed the reporters in. That's how we got the story. That's how we got the pictures.
Well, yeah, because Trump is the evil fascist dictator. And if you don't let people in, then, it must be an evil fascist dictator. But since it's a Democrat, see, there's a conservative way to do it. Biden, he's asking Congress to give $80 million to put the children in migrant hotels, not facilities, not migrant places. So it's better, right? And it's so irritating.
I see someone already going off on AOC in the chat. Let me see if I can get caught up there. He said, "Can you guys see my comment on Argentina?" What comment was that? Let me scroll up a little bit. I've been missing some of the comments here. Let's try to get back onto it. We have someone on YouTube, Arthur Kolinsky. He said, "I have run independent in Illinois District 8. I had to collect 50,000 signatures in 3 months with Democrats and Republicans." Oh, I see what he's saying. Democrats and Republicans. I was like, what? Oh, I see. He's clever. Only had to get 5,000 each to get on the ballot. It is rigged. Okay, I see. So he had to get like 50,000 signatures while they only had to get 5,000. It's crazy. So yeah, the game is really rigged against independent candidates and third parties, which is why I'm a strong advocate of ranked choice voting. And I also have kind of a stance that a lot of people, some people that outflank me on the left may disagree with. Well, I tell people, and I'm like, I'm willing to support anyone who has a policy platform that I agree with. So, like, whether you run as a Democrat or whether you're a Republican, whether you're People Party or Green Party, if you have my policy platform, I'm willing to support you. So, what I tell people is, I think the best thing that you can do is if you do research in the area and you see what you got to check out, what the best way for you to win. I mean, if you're in a deep red area, I wouldn't be opposed to someone running a Republican in that area. But if you're in a deep 100% neoliberal blue area and you're trying to run as a Green Party or MPP, you're kind of wasting resources. So once again, we are not corporate. we are a people power movement. So there's only a limited amount of resources that we have. So once again, I know there's some people on my left that disagree with me on this take. I'm okay with that. So what I say is, I mean, if you and I talk to people who are planning on running third party. I don't know if I should drop names. 'Cause I don't know. They talked about it, but they was telling me how in their particular district it's winnable. If you are in a district, once again, we have a lot of people that's in the Green Party that elected in local areas. If your area allows you to run as a third party or independent and you can win, 100% go for it. But if you like in my area, like I did research in my area because once again I said I never rule out the idea. But the last time Emmanuel Cleaver had a primary challenger, he won by 80% of the vote. It's a deep blue area with a lot of older black people. I mean, we have one of the highest black population, and they vote Democrat in a loyal fashion. So I was telling people, like, if I was to run, as much as I would love to run as a third party, I would be just wasting left resources. Instead, the same resources that can go to mutual aid, they can actually go to, like, once again, I'm not too invested in electoral politics, but if you want to put resources to place, that's a great way to put it. Helping out homeless people, that kind of stuff. So if you're gonna actually invest in electoral politics, you gotta make sure you're doing it right. So that's why I have that stance. I know people disagree because people are like, never ever run as a Democrat. I'm like, yeah, I understand that sentiment. And if you don't have to, fucking don't do it. And I understand why people wouldn't even support anyone. Like, Nina Turner is not owed anyone's support. I want people to understand that. I want her to win, but people who think that people should just fall in line and like donate and spend their time for someone just because she's a Democrat, I understand why people would be upset by that, to be honest. So I think my take is pretty nuanced, right? What do you think, RJ?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's getting a lot of flack from MPP people because she did go up to their convention saying we did end the two-party duopoly, and then she becomes part of the
Yeah.
two-party duopoly. But
Well, I'm not even mad at their attacks at her either. Like, I'm not like we gotta keep they're people of power. Like, I like Nina Turner. Like, we're mutuals on Twitter. I have a lot of respect for her, but she can handle it. Like, she's a pretty powerful, strong woman. I think she can handle it.
Yeah, I guess some of my concerns is that, like, even when she was on, like, Rising a couple times and she's doing all the independent media, she's really, I would
One
say,
second, guys.
liquid.
1 second, guys. Go ahead, RJ.
Okay. Yeah, what I've noticed about Nina really is that she's really kind of liquidized her message, especially when she's talking about progressive policies. And I guess what makes it really hard is that it definitely toys away from the left. Like, you're capitulating to the establishment. And anytime you do that, it's very concerning on the left. I mean, look at AOC, look at a lot of these progressives in the House. When they're put in positions of power, you're supposed to depend on them to actually stand up and do something. It's like that old saying that Lyndon Johnson used to say back in the '60s. You damn liberals just don't know how to fight. I know we're progressives and not liberals, but it's just the same instance. Like, if you believe in something, you show that up by actually standing up for it. I mean, look at Joe Manchin. He believes in some shitty shit, but he stands up for it. He's not afraid to be an asshole and be hated. He's always willing to stand up for what he believes in, even if it's completely bad. And so if you look at progressives right now in the House and even Bernie in the Senate, especially Bernie in the Senate, if it's 50-50, he should be able to use his power. And with the progressive policies and his support, he can get a lot of things done. And so back to Nina, what concerns me about her currently is that, yes, you got to get elected. I understand, like, politician, you got to do everything you can to get elected, and then you can have that conversation. But at the same time, I've noticed that, even a guy like Donald Trump, he knows he has to get elected, but he treats his base better than anyone I've seen in a long time. He always capitulates to his base. He Yeah, like, I'm extremely jealous. Like, he makes his base happy. He always consults with them. He asks them on Twitter, "How you guys feeling? What do you guys want?" He gives them everything they need. And House progressives, they always tell us, "Oh, well, we have to take this, and we gotta wait." And I do believe progressives too, in general, and even left, well, not really much leftists, but progressives in general, we have to stop waiting to get permission from the squad and Bernie to actually do anything. And that's kind of the dialect I see what's wrong with the left, which gives cover to people like Nina who will want to capitulate. Like, I like her, I just don't like how she's liquidizing her message. I think you're muted.
I forgot. I didn't turn my mic back on. I forgot. All right, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I had my mic muted. I forgot to turn it back on. But anyway, I think that's a good time. I think that's a good way to say it. I also want to cover that story. So let's talk about this here because I want to discuss this because as someone who votes third party, I did the last two presidential elections. People think I just do it in a reckless manner. I really don't. I really don't. The fact that I did twice, that's an indictment of the establishment, not me, not me. Because I'm willing, and I'm gonna really cover another story from Missouri and why the GOP in Missouri is horrific. I said on my show, on the record, I am willing to vote against my Republican incumbents. I said it multiple times. My litmus tests are very, very simple. I'm not voting for a war criminal. The Democrat, all they had to do is like, bro, I said I was not going to vote for anyone who had anything to do with Iraq. So once again, I'm like, yeah, I understand you guys are saying Trump is pretty goddamn bad, but not as bad as the Iraq War. Like that's this kind of stuff that I will reflect to. I don't want to do that, but it's just kind of I can't help but come to that conclusion. One thing that was weighed on my mind obviously was the Supreme Court. But I've been pleasantly surprised. I mean, because there's a lot of liberal fear mongering that goes on. For good reason. Because this is my. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. My position, I said from the beginning, and I made a tweet. I'm glad. I think it went pretty viral. I said, I'm not the Supreme Court doesn't scare me because I don't trust Joe Biden with a Supreme Court's pick. The reason I said that because if you look historically, the Supreme Court has never ever been a friend of the working class. They always ruled in imperialist, colonistic, capitalist way, pro-corporate. That's always been their record. So I'm like, okay. So the reason I came to my conclusion, I'm like, okay, we lost the Supreme Court anyway. So if Joe Biden's gonna put someone on the Supreme Court, it's gonna be a horrible corporatist anyway. A lot of people may disagree with me, but that plus the horrific actions of Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton, those I weigh those things together, and I'm like, okay, this is why I will never. This is why I'm voting third party. That was my thought process. But I've been pleasantly surprised because Brett Kavanaugh been way more moderate than I gave him credit for, and that's not me praising him because I'm sure he did have a lot of
Actually, Neil Gorsuch is way more moderate than even Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah, no. When I say that, you gotta understand. I thought Brett Kavanaugh was gonna be an absolute disaster. Like he had some hard. I'm not like even if you like. There's the sexual assault allegation was serious, but I remember when Brett Kavanaugh was going up, I was like, bro, he's a extreme right winger, and I was just looking into his past, his former views, and someone brought this up to me before. Like, what if like when he was doing his whole thing for the Supreme Court, what if that was him kind of selling to the MAGA base, the right wing base, where they're like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I'm gonna be a super right wing crazy asshole, and then once they get in, they kind of scale it back. That's what we've been seeing, right? And the reason why I bring this up, guys, go ahead, RJ.
Yeah, what I was going to say, actually, to give some context to this. So, Trump himself, like many of his picks for the Supreme Court, weren't necessarily by him. It was by the Federalist Society. The Federalist Society is a right-wing organization for all of the Republican Party's judicial nominees. So that's whether it's federal or if it's a Supreme Court. So Trump said, look, MAGA, I'm going to give you guys your judges, your beautiful, strong Republican conservative judges, and the Federalist Society, they pump them out like crazy. So whatever they pick out, that's what we're going to go with. And so the Federalist Society, they picked out Brett Kavanaugh. They picked out Neil Gorsuch.
Yeah, that's why I was
They
terrified of him. Exactly
they
why.
picked out Amy Coney Barrett. And so the whole reason why we got Amy Coney Barrett in the first place is because MAGA was at the Federalist Society, because apparently they weren't right-wing enough. And it was mostly because Neil Gorsuch, he cited to allow LGBTQ rights to be written into the 1965 Civil Rights Act, the part where you can't be discriminated based on race, gender, and was it race, gender, or creed, or whatever. So they added the part where a person who has who's like gay, trans, or bisexual, they added that part in sex in terms of male and female.
And they ruled in favor, and they ruled to protect. So just say that again, so I can catch on to that, because I think you said go ahead.
So the 1965 Civil Rights Act, that's the part that pissed off MAGA. So the 1965 Civil Rights Act, there's a portion there saying that you can't be discriminated based off of like race, gender, yada yada yada. So they ruled in favor of LGBTQ. That was Chief Justice Roberts, and that was Neil Gorsuch. Brett Kavanaugh ruled against it, and then before she died, Ruth Bader Ginsburg voted for it. So it went 5-4, and it voted for it. That's the first camel that broke the straw's back. And there was another one too. I forgot. It was the one in the workplace where LGBTQ couldn't be discriminated in the workplace. That was another one. And so so MAGA got pissed off at the Federalist Society. That's why Trump, after RBG died, he had to go full crazy with Amy Coney Barrett. Like Amy Coney Barrett, she was a Handmaid's Tale person. I don't even know what the fuck that is. Our viewers, if you know in the comments, let me know what that is, and I can say it. But she's extremely more far right wing. That's why Trump and the Republican Party was expressly trying to put her on the Supreme Court to appease the base. Because the Republican orthodoxy works like this. They believe, so the Republican Party in general, Congress itself doesn't actually write laws to change things culturally or to change things economically. They ceded all that power to the Supreme Court. So the Republicans, what they do, how they get away with their corruption, their malfeasance, and their terrible policies is they say, look, it's not our fault, even though we write the laws. Hey, go to court, go to the federal court, go to the Supreme Court. They do their job. So by the Federalist Society fucking up and making the Republicans look bad, in order to appease the base and to keep that orthodoxy the same, they have to go all right to go after and get Amy Coney Barrett in office. So that's kind of how it all goes.
Yeah, that's a good way to break it down, because the reason why I brought that up because someone said, wait, are we seriously silver lining Trump's goals picks? And I'm like, dude, keep up. That's not what we're doing. I'll tell you, I'm covering what they're doing right now. Exactly. And I literally, this is not a partisan show. So if you just want me to be like, oh, Republican, bad Republican, you're on the wrong place. This is not what we're going to do. I'm analyzing what they're acting, and I already laid out why I think Brett Kavanaugh is extremely problematic. And once again, I think he's not going to be a great judge. But this is why I'm bringing this up, because if you look at this court ruling, this is not even the first one. Once again, he was the outlier vote on abortion. And once again, it's not me praising Kavanaugh. This is just me bringing up what he has done, right? So and he also was a part of this here. The U.S. Supreme Court widens ability to sue police for excessive force. So this is an expansion of the Fourth Amendment. Like if you look through, that's what they intend. That's how they was able to get this done. Let me see if I can find the argument here. So the court determined that in order to sue for excessive force under the Fourth Amendment, it is not necessary for a plaintiff to be physically seized by law enforcement. Guys, that's a big deal. Like, so you're asking, like, are you saying Brett Kavanaugh moderate? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that like he ruled moderately in his last few cases. I'm not labeling him. That's a fact. Like this is a shocking ruling for someone who, I mean, he still could be far right wing, but it's literally a fact to say this is a very moderate ruling. This is because this is a big, because this could be for a long time. They use this to fuck with protesters. They use this to literally go after protesters because they're like, oh, we're not violating your Fourth Amendment rights because we're not necessarily seizing you. But they're like, bro, now they're saying you don't have to be seized if you're fucked with by the cops and they physically detain you. They're violating your Fourth Amendment. That is my interpretation of this, and I'm gonna continue to read into this. But based on what I've seen, this is what that is, and this would be a big deal. So this is not us just praising Trump Supreme Court picks. This is me just saying the objective fact that this is a good ruling. And if you're too tribalist to accept that, I'm sorry, I'm not the guy for you.
Okay, well, so let me explain this. So basically, what we're saying is that we're not saying Brett Kavanaugh and some of these right-wing Trump picks are moderate on the political spectrum. We are saying that they're more moderate now than what we imagined how right-wing they would be.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we thought Brett Kavanaugh was supposed to be this extreme right-wing asshole, he's still a right-wing asshole. He's just not as bad as what we originally thought.
That's a good way to
So
put
that's
it.
what we mean by moderate. Not necessarily he's an actual moderate on the political spectrum. I hope that clears that up.
Because if you asked me before he got in the court, I was like, there's no fucking way he ruled like this. But so, once again, more moderate than I thought. That's all the way it is. Just like RJ. RJ played perfectly. We're not saying he's moderate, more moderate than we thought. Now, compare that to, the reason why I say that, because you got to compare this to the dissenting opinion. The dissenting opinion is from the conservative Justice Neil Gorsuch. And this is what I expected out of Brett Kavanaugh. Let me put it up so RJ can see on the screen here, and for you guys to check it out. When you look at the alternative, you can see why I'm impressed by the ruling by Kavanaugh. Because, once again, look at the other side. Look at the argument by Neil Gorsuch. In the dissenting opinion, said a seizure under the Fourth Amendment has always been defined as taking possession of someone or something, and he criticized the court's contrary conclusion. They already do this though. So his ruling. Let me know what you guys think, but this is incoherent to me, right? Because he's saying, well, because you gotta understand the context. Because this context came from a case from someone who had this situation happen to her by the police. So now he's saying, so Neil Gorsuch is saying that, nah, it's not a big deal. You literally have to be systematically processed to be locked up for it to be a Fourth Amendment violation. Like, no, bro, the cops literally fuck. There's stories out here from activists where cops fuck with them all the time. Like, keep them behind the vehicles, keep them for a long time, release them. Like, these are the kind of stuff that this ruling is fighting against. Let's continue here. Let's see, because I want to see what the other ones say. Oh, yeah, and by the way, Amy Coney Barrett, the new Trump pick, she didn't weigh in on this because this was before that she was sworn in as well. I'm trying to see if there's any other. They highlight Neil Gorsuch's response here, but let's see if anyone else had anything to add. Anyway, I'll read this part out. The case will now return to lower courts, where the officers can seek to have the lawsuit dismissed on other grounds, including the legal doctrine called qualified immunity, which, if you're not for getting rid of qualified immunity, you are a fucking fascist. Like, once again, if liberals are like, well, we don't support defund the police, we support all these reforms. What reforms? Like, it better be, to give them credit, to be fair though, there are liberals that acknowledge that qualified immunity is a bad thing. But if you're an active Democrat in power and you're not doing everything you can to get rid of qualified immunity, you're complicit. Let's see. Anything else from here? Well, this pretty much go in detail. I didn't really talk that much about that lawsuit that led to this. I was trying to mirror the exact backstory too. But this started because someone was a victim of police brutality. They sued and then eventually went to the Supreme Court because she was arguing that they was violating her Fourth Amendment rights. And this is how this eventually got ruled. That's why this is a pretty shocking ruling, because, like, bam, that's a good win for her. Now the police got to find other bullshit to get out of it, like qualified immunity and that kind of stuff. See, what Jeremy's putting in the chat here?
I saw that. So basically he's saying that a state representative, Park Cannon, who's a black woman, she went outside of Governor Brian Kemp's office because Brian Kemp was about to sign a new law restricting it makes you have a voter ID in order to have an absentee ballot.
Oh, you talking about that anti-voting? Is that the
Yeah.
anti-voting right law? I was just reading about that.
Right.
Because again, I told you, I'm willing to vote against these. Like, that, if that happened in my area, like, yeah, I'm getting rid of y'all. Because, like, bro, if it was an up and coming politician who had no, like, dirt, I'm like, man, I know you're gonna be corrupt. But fuck, we gotta get rid of these motherfuckers. But as soon as you fuck up, I'm not voting for you. Like, if you're gonna be a war criminal, I'll let you lose. I'll try again. That's my fucking moderate position. So I'm trying to get the link to work. I don't know if I copied and pasted it wrong. I didn't get it to work. Let me try it one more time. I don't think the late night show is gonna be as long as the normal show. So we about an hour in, so we can kind of shoot the shit here till we wrap up. Late night show is not gonna be as long, but I'm glad you guys dropped in. Decent showing for me not streaming usually at this time. So I have it pulled. I had a story from Jam Reach pulled up now. Thank you for giving, Chi. Georgia lawmaker charged with felony for knocking on. Oh, I see. Wow. So this is from today. Yeah, I didn't get you. Oh, they're just brand new. That's why from 9 p.m. I don't know if I don't know. Maybe this might be a follow up story. I'm not sure, but I haven't been following this. So let's dive in it together because that's what we do here. This is the state rep. Park Cannon was arrested, been charged with felony obstruction on Thursday night after she protested. So she's a state rep, the person who got arrested, then, huh? Once again, I'm learning this as we go. So, let's see. So it seemed like she was a state rep and was arrested. So what she did, the state rep, as RJ pointed out, she's a black woman, served the Georgia House of Representatives since 2016, and was detained by Georgia State Patrol officers after she attempted to witness the signing of a law. So that's why what she was banging on the door, right? Because the headline said she was knocking on Brian Kemp's office door. This is fuck. Like I told you guys, we live in a failed state. Like this, when I say failed state, I mean in every single realm. Like this is a failure in the justice system and the way our laws are written. Like the fact that something like this can even be illegal. We covered in many ways why this country is a failed state in terms of economics and economic disparity. But then once again, there's just another reason. We talk about corruption, but there's just another fucking reason why I don't apologize for saying I have nothing but disdain for this state. So that's my initial. So you guys want to hear my radical reaction when I hear stories? That's this kind of shit that comes to my head. Like fuck this state. Anyway, let's continue to read. The Republican-led Georgia legislature passed a measure on Thursday which will impose new identification requirements on those who vote by mail, limit the use of drop boxes for absentee ballots, and make it illegal for voting groups to give food or water to people standing in line to cast their ballots. Clips from a live stream show Cannon knocked on the door of Governor Brian Kemp's office after speaking with Georgia State Patrol officers. The officers then placed her under arrest. So this is a tweet. Greg Bluestein, why are you arresting her? Let's check. I'm gonna check that video out here soon. That's pretty crazy. Let me pull that up. You got any thoughts on this, RJ? While I do this here, like, what are your initial thoughts to the story and what she went through? What are your overall opinions on it?
I think it's pretty disgraceful, honestly. You know, you think after the Democrats win Georgia, we're supposed to protect black women, protect black people, you know, probe everything black. And then the Democrats are silent about this. You know, and let's not pretend like, oh, well, they don't have time to know the story about what's going on. I mean, this is D.C. Like, most of the time they know they know what's happening before the news is even released. And so it's kind of it's very frustrating, too. And, you know, but to be honest, I think this is kind of Democrats want it, you know, because you want your base to be oppressed. And the reason why is because if they're good without you, then you're ceding power to the voters. But if you keep them oppressed, but at the same time give them hope that they'll get better, they'll stick with you. You know, it's kind of the same way the Republicans treat their voters. You know, they shame them, they keep them down economically, but only pander to them enough to make them feel good, and they can stay the same way. Kind of like Trump did to the Republican Party. Same way Obama did to the black community and to the Democratic Party.
So when I see this is why I have nothing but disdain for Republicans, but I can always make it about Democrats, trust me. So we see Republicans are drastically reducing voting laws, and once again, I got a story. I may save it for tomorrow, but it's pretty much Republican fuckery in Missouri. They blocking the ballot initiative I've been bragging about on the show all the time, how we expanded Medicaid, and now you got Missouri Republicans that are trying to block that. So they blocking the will of the voters, and their excuse is bullshit. But let's continue with this here. But you had Nancy Pelosi You had Joe Biden. They both publicly been saying that we need a strong and vibrant Republican Party. So we have this party that's stealing people's voting rights. They're doing these crazy, unhinged, fascist, anti-democratic policies. But meanwhile, you have Joe Biden that's supposed to, we need a Republican Party. What is that about? Meanwhile, those same people will say I'm being weak on Republicans because I call them out for being Republicans as well. So my opinion is very similar to Chomsky. So this is why I don't understand liberals, because liberals will happily invite Republicans into their party. Bill Kristol, Lincoln Project, those people. I find those I'll find those people irredeemable. That's the difference between me and you. So they call me weak on Republicans. I'm like, bro, I'm way harder on Republicans than you. They're not even close. Because what Chomsky said is the Republicans and the Republican Party is the most evil organization in the history of the earth. And I agree with them. And I know a lot about history. Why do I say that? Why do Chomsky say that? Because if climate change wipes out humanity and the Republican Party been complicit in slowing down progress on stopping that, if you look at the overall human toll, I mean, that would be the extinction of society compared to what other historical tragedy. If you had, they literally complicit in possibly taking down society. That was Chomsky's argument. So Chomsky said what they have done in causing this climate crisis is worse than anything anyone had ever done. I mean, if you look at the human death total because of climate change, God knows what it is. Like, if you actually calculate the numbers from even like the last 3 decades, like how many people actually died out of the result of climate change thus far, natural weather events, droughts that leads to famine, that kind of stuff. You can already argue that they are the worst people of all time. And then you add on everything else. Because I criticize the Democratic Party and Joe Biden for being rank imperialists, and this is why I call them out for it. But the Republican Party is super unapologetically for that. And they've been for every single horrific U.S. imperialist war of all time. So if you can combine just those two things, let alone everything else, giant police states and all that kind of stuff, I agree with them that they are the worst organization of all time. That's why I say the Lincoln Project is irredeemable, because the Lincoln Project, Bill Kristol, and all these George Bush alumni that want to be anti-Trump, they are the people that I'm like, bro, there's nothing that you can say to me ever. You can say you vote for Bernie Sanders. I don't give a fuck. There's nothing that Lincoln Project could ever say to me, or anyone who was complicit with the George Bush era, the Reagan era, or any of the Republican administrations, or supportive of them. There's nothing you can say to me that can make me welcome you with open arms the way that the liberals have done Project Lincoln and them. That's why I'm saying I'm way harder on them than them. And that's why it's an indictment of the Democratic Party that they even sympathize with these people and they're friendly with these people. That's an indictment on the party itself, because it shows you they stand for nothing. So I always wanted to clear that up, because that's one of the things that you hear the left that hates the left. They always say, "Oh, nigga, you never criticized Republicans. You always must be some Republican sympathizer." No, this is my stance. This is my hope. So people that watching, the few people that did, you guys know. Whenever you see people say that, "Oh, nigga, don't criticize Republicans enough," the meaning is because why spend my time criticizing people that not representative of me? Because once again, politics is local. I'm in a blue state, deeply Democrat. The policies that have been failed me have been enacted by Democrats. And these are the people that I need to push the Overton window to the left. So, of course, I'm going to criticize them, because they're the number one instruments of progress. The people who stopped Medicare for All was not Donald Trump. Donald Trump did not stop Medicare for All. It wasn't Mike Pence. It wasn't Fox News. It was Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and the Democratic Party. I hope we are clear on that. So I understand who my number one enemy is. Because if we don't defeat them, we don't even get to Republicans. I am still salty as fuck. You guys saw me attack Trump and Republicans. Do you guys understand how ready I was? How fucking ready I was to have Bernie versus Trump? You guys see how I argue against neoliberals. There is no way a conservative was ready to have that conversation with me. I had every single angle covered. And I was canvassing for Bernie at the time. And I planned on canvassing nationwide to the end of the election. And I was salty as hell that I couldn't do that because of COVID and the fact that we lost, right? But I'm telling you, if it came down to Bernie and Trump, I had so many attacks. So many attacks ready for Trump. I swear to God. I had so many attacks ready for him. But my stance at the time was I'm not going to carry water for the Democratic Party. No, I'm saying this is why I spend a lot of time criticizing them. Let me get my Discord up. No, I was saying this is why I spend a lot of time criticizing them. But my stance on Republicans and how I feel about them, I'm not seeing the contradiction. Not seeing the contradiction there. I'm not saying it. You start out saying they hard and you aren't hard and them. No, I'm not. No, my point was I'm not harder. I wouldn't say I'm harder on Republicans than Democrats or vice versa. I said my thing is they're the same. I did multiple segments before. I'm like, bro, people who trying to pretend that Trump is something that he isn't in order to attack Joe Biden. I'm like, you missing the point. My stance isn't the Democrats are better than Republicans. My stance is they're the same. So that's why I'm saying what you're saying not really making sense to me. And then I ended by saying this is why I'm harder on liberals, because these are the people that represent me. You gotta listen to what I'm saying, because I said I'm in a blue district. I mean, everyone around me is Democrats. The black community, we've been ruled by these blue cities. You gotta look at it locally. This is why I challenge Democrats. Black wealth was tanked under Democrats. They support endless war. I mean, they support the same thing Republicans do. So. Wait a second. This is your first time viewing? I don't understand. I just don't understand what he's talking about.
We
but it's
hate
cool.
Both teams. That's
it's
kind
cool.
of the general.
Yeah, I'm like,
we hate both.
I don't even understand why he even confused what I'm saying. I feel like I'm being clear, right? Anyway, let's see. Bernie was better on trade, and I would have crushed Trump on trade. Cause once again, I'm telling you, everything that the Democrat. By the way, you guys know that Elizabeth Warren voted for the Trump trade deal. By the way. So what Trump did, Trump was like, oh yeah, we are anti-TPP, which was good. But then he pretty much did the same fucking thing his own way. it was just one to rebrand it. I mean, he ran on American first, but then he didn't do no American first policies in terms of trade. So it was like, bro, if we were Bernie versus Trump, we could have killed him on that. And Bernie was planning to. That's why Trump didn't want to run on him. But what was you about to say, RJ?
So even Liz Warren, she cheered for Trump's imperialism vis-a-vis Venezuela too.
Yeah, and this is why I always brought about Warren, and I never understand why anyone would pretend that Warren's a progressive. Cause I'm like, how you can say Warren's a progressive when she vote for his military budget and trade deals, and she support South American coups,
and that she's a capitalist to her bones.
So I never understand. Like anyone who propped Elizabeth Warren up, I immediately side-eyed. Like what? Like all you gotta do is look what she's done. Like in office. Whatever, that's beyond me. Anyway, we got an hour in. Let's see. I'll just let SJW argue with the comments. I don't see a lot of haters find my stream often, so that's pretty funny. A-Box said Chomsky anti-communist, but he has good takes on U.S. imperialism. My friend Forgiven she got a lot of good criticism for Chomsky, and I said this on the stream before. I don't care when people criticize people I like at all. Like why would I give a fuck? Chomsky's comfortable as hell. Bernie's comfortable as hell. I don't care, but I want people to understand. I may agree with you on the attacks on Chomsky, but I still would take good things that Chomsky said. And what I quoted earlier about what he said on Republicans, I like how he defines anarchism. That really helped me out. Because that's pretty much where I got my definition of libertarian socialism and anarchism is where you support government that justifies itself. That's literally I heard that I was like, damn, that's it. That's kind of where I'm at, and that stance is why I support defund the police. That defund the police is inherently a libertarian socialist anarchist policy because we are literally asking the government to actually have a budget that justifies itself. So my op-ed I wrote about police budgets was all about the police. They don't do anything to actually stop crime. they actually do a horrible job preventing crime. In fact, they actually have a negative impact in the community. And then you look at the amount of money we actually spend on police budgets, it doesn't justify itself. Now, this is where a lot of people get confused because they're like, well, how can you be a libertarian, but you can be on the left? Once again, I support policies that justify itself. So I support Medicare for all, which a standard libertarian would never support because they're like, oh, that's big government spending, blah, blah, blah. But no, that's a policy that justifies itself because the government will actually save money on Medicare for all. You boost jobs, you boost the economy, you boost wages, you improve quality of life, and you get better healthcare outcomes. So that's why I like that definition that Chomsky laid out there, because it literally lays out why you should support the policy I support. Medicare for all is a policy that justifies itself because the positive outcomes that it leads to. Meanwhile, if you look at what I actually support, this is why I outflank right-wing libertarians on what they say they believe, because I actually believe in don't tread on me. So what I propose to them is that police budgets, giant military budgets, which once again the military budgets a lot of these libertarians agree with. Some of the true libertarians agree that we should reduce police budgets, but it's a very small majority. I want people to understand that the vast majority of right-wing libertarians are frauds. You do run into someone who actually do have legit don't tread on me ideas, but they have horrible economics. But a lot of them, they actually really frauds. Like they most of them don't even believe. They will still be supportive of a big police budget, but they would say, I'm a libertarian. What? Like, the cops are the biggest tread on me organization of all time. Like, they're the organization that policing people based on what fucking plants they use. And you want to talk about don't tread on me? And you supportive of that? Like, so this is a concept that doesn't make sense. And I will confront them with that. And I don't see a lot of people that handle that well when I bring that up. So as a socialist, as a libertarian socialist, or as an anarchist, either way, I think both of those describe me pretty well. I'm for programs that increase the quality of life. Once again, like Insidious and G said, they just don't like taxes. Yeah, they seem like they just hate poor people. They want to go back to feudalism, which was neoliberalism was an improvement of feudalism. This is what Richard Wolff points out all the time. Like, out of all the criticism I have of neoliberalism, which is a ton, you guys understand that was born out of evolution of feudalism, which was already a more failed system. So feudalism is awful, where you have a few people who have a ton of resources. They pretty much dictate policy. They can hire private militias. They have a ton of influence. So when you actually look at right-wing libertarians' economic policies, that's what it leads to. The powerful controlling the wealth, powerful dictating the means of production. It's horrible. So as a left-wing libertarian, as an anarchist, I'm like, I want to improve the quality of life. What actually justifies itself is worthwhile fighting. Once again, Medicare for all, the best example. That's why I'm supportive of UBI. Once again, studies show UBI will boost the economy, improve quality of life. I mean, when I look at stuff that actually studied and what actually worked, I'm like, okay, that's why I lean towards. But you take the fascist authoritarianism out, like lot of this unnecessary nanny state bullshit. Once again, I don't think speeding tickets should be a thing. But this is kind of why I lean. Like, you guys don't know. But there's an argument for that, and I argued on that in terms of Ryan Knight and Amped Up on the show. That's a regressive tax. I argue this in my piece as well. If you're a libertarian socialist, why are you advocating for regressive taxes on the working class? Because we established, if you look at broken windows policing, who would they target the most? Who is pulled over the most? The people who are pulled over the most is largely Latinos and Black Americans. So if you support the regressive tax, they are inherently targeting poor and disenfranchised communities, because these are the people that police usually go after. And then even when they do go after the rich upper class, if you rich as fuck, a speeding ticket doesn't mean nothing to you. So it's not a penalty. Any law that is based on fines and based on the you can get out based on income is not a law for rich people. It's a regressive law. You might have to add that comment. You might have to copy and paste that again, A-Box, because I may have missed it. Yeah, because we are 15 minutes in. I definitely don't want this to go long in 1:30 on a late night stream. I already went a little longer than I thought. RJ said, I'm gonna send a list. We want to explain that for us. Once I'm not even admit that I'm not even that amazed on labels. Like, my thing is, I tell people I just explain my position, and I'm like, I think that's where I'm at. Like, I don't really focus on that too much, but I'll put the floor to RJ. Explain kind of your ideology, since I went in my tangent.
Well, just to get the Wikipedia search.
Cause dude,
Honestly,
I'm not one of the people that gonna pretend I'm great on labels. I tell people
yeah,
I tell people what I believe, and I'm like, am I a social? I think I'm a socialist. I think I'm an anarchist. I'm a communist, right? That's kind of how I am. Like I
yeah.
pose.
Syndicalism is more of like a communist thing, but basically the current definition is so syndicalism is a current in the labor movement to establish local worker-based organizations and advance the demands and rights of workers through strikes. So it's like most
Yeah,
active
yeah, that
during
sounds
the
good to
20th
me.
century.
Yeah, that sounds great to me. I was gonna say like that's ideology that I would mostly agree with, and that's why I was telling some communists. People ask me like, "Why don't you just call yourself a communist?" And I'm like, and this is what the question I pose: like, bro, if I talk to communists and I agree with everything they're saying, which I mostly do, like almost everyone on my show is a communist. Rome, Jackie, my original co-host Alex. I'm like the vast majority of my people are communists. So I'm talking to them. I'm like, I agree with them. So my question, and I'm like, bro, I legitimately don't even know this answer. If I talk to communists and I agree with communists all the time, am I a communist by like proxy or something? Like, because once again, I'm like, I don't know if I want to call myself that because once again, I just present my beliefs. I'm like, well, I fit where I fit. I never been too obsessed on calling myself one thing or another. I call myself an anarchist and libertarian socialist for the reason I just laid out. Because once again, I saw Chomsky was laying out how like, yeah, this is pretty much government that justifies. So I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much it. And if someone think like once I got so many communists that follow me on Twitter, and they be like, bro, I didn't know you don't label yourself a communist. I'm like, my name is Socialist MMA, for one. But then there's the argument that once again, I talk to communists where they tell me they're like, bro, you can't be a socialist without being a communist. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm a communist then. Like I was like, so you see how labels don't really affect me? I'm like, I think they're important to talk about because this is English, this is the language, this is how we communicate. But I don't put too much stock in it. I'm like, okay, I guess I am who you think I am. Like, I don't understand why people get super. Like I see people on Twitter who like super obsessed over this. Who's like, oh, you're not this, you're not this, you're this. I'm like, bro, I'm just who I am. I don't give a fuck.
It's like the zodiac signs. You know, everyone wants to
Yeah, I
know
don't.
which specific one fits them. Like, I love zodiac signs. So if anyone wants to talk about that, I would love to have that conversation. But I think I'm more in line with anarcho-syndicalism, which is basically a political thought that revolutionary industrial unionism or syndicalism as a method of workers in a capitalistic society to gain control of an economy and thus control influence over broader society. So it's like the end goal of syndicalism is to end the wage system that regards it as the wage slavery, focuses more on the labor movement, and also does things like solidarity, direct action, direct democracy, and worker self-management. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Nick, before you end the stream, read my chat. See, I'm looking for your. You said you copy and paste. I can't find it. His post on Argentina. We can wrap it up. C Dubs, he got a pretty good comment here. I see. Nick, I went to school for criminal justice because I wanted to help people, but found out how much corruption and racism there is and couldn't stomach it. I had a little discussion with Rome on guns yesterday. I was lost with where he was going on his video yesterday, but came to an understanding by the end of it. Well, off Twitter, let's see what's going on for Detroit. Yep, appreciate the comment, C Dubs. Like once again, I think a lot of people are very confused on where a lot of leftists stand on guns, and I had an evolution on that myself. Well, I'm like, bro, once again, I explained this before, but coming from a martial artist point of view, I'm a little bit biased. So as a martial artist, I have a disdain towards guns. I hate it because it evens the playing field. So I'm like, so I always look at it like, man, I wish guns was never invented. So it's like, once again, this is just kind of me just being childish. So that's kind of how I got my disdain for guns, but then kind of grew from that from the liberal groupthink. So I was like one of the people like, yeah, man, fuck him, get rid of the gun. Second Amendment bullshit anyway, and I still do believe the Second Amendment is bullshit, but I believe it's bullshit for a different reason than I used to. I could explain a little bit later, but I don't want to go too long. But I evolved because once again, when you understand how state violence operate, when you read history, and then just do basic leftist theory, you understand, like, bro, you can't fucking disarm the working class while you got a militarized police force. What the fuck? No way. And then we got crazy unhinged right wingers. You got fucking. I mean, I see examples of history of shit going down in countries, and people just assume that things are safe as it is right now. You never know when shit's gonna go down. But more than anything, it's the state violence thing. Where I'm like, okay, you can't you can't disarm the working class. If you're gonna do that, you better disarm the military. You better disarm the police. You better disarm all these motherfuckers first. So that's kind of how I involved our guns. So to sum it up in a nutshell, I kind of wasn't the gun control lib to start off with, but as I shift further to the left and learn more about state violence, talking to a lot of leftists and looking to leftist theory, that one I'm like, okay, yeah, we can't ban guns. Like not right now. Like if we in a perfect society that where we can do that, maybe we can have a discussion. But as it is right now, we're not anywhere close to that. Because once again, I won't even entertain the idea until we have a complete disarmament of the police and military, which everyone know how unrealistic that is. So I guess it's not happening. Jan Marie says, I'm a martial artist who loves guns. I'm not. I understand. I feel you, bro. I understand. Once again, I told you it was more of a childish personal bias because I wish everything was still on a. Because even if you look at swords and spears, that's still a martial art, like learning archery. So once again, as a childish thing, I was kind of like, man, I wish people didn't have to take the easy way out because that's how colonizers won. They came in other countries with their fucking gunpowder and they fucked shit up. So once again, as someone who's biased and someone who, once again, if you look at what it means to be a weapon wielding warrior or archery, that's still a martial art. Like you guys understand that like learning how to use weapons is still martial art. So I'm like, so once again, this is me being childishly biased. Like, bro, guns really fucked this up because like, bro, now you have these white colonizers who fucking unathletic as fuck, who just come and just shoot people. Like this is bullshit. Like so that's why I had the initial bias. And once again, there's still part of me that have that bias, but I can separate that bias from where I stand in terms of a political point of view. Political point of view, I'm like, bro, there's no fucking way we're in a position where we can disarm the working class. Do the police and military first, then we can think about it, but we're not even anywhere near that. So let me see if I can find that Argentina comment from A-Box. Boy posted an article in here. Let's see. He's talking about the Argentina, or the U.S. backed the coup in Argentina, which installed a right-wing military. Yeah, this is pretty much good information to end on. This is pretty solid. So we read this and then we can wrap up from here. Here we spent. Well, he talking about the U.S. coup in Argentina, 1976. I'm kind of summing up while I read too, because it's pretty long. Which was installed by a right-wing military junta. Don't clown on me if I'm saying this stuff wrong, guys. The junta received a green light from Henry Kissinger to conduct its dirty war. See, it's no justice the fact that Henry Kissinger is still alive. This fucking it really pissed me off more than anything that this man lived to be 20 plus years. He lived 20 plus years longer than my granddad. But I'll move on before I get too deep. There's no fucking justice. The junta began a massive campaign of state violence as part of the CIA's Operation Condor. Yeah, so this is Condor. Yeah, we are pretty solid stuff, but let's continue to read. The campaign disappeared. This is the campaign that disappeared 13,000 socialists, students, unions, journalists, and average citizens. Like, this is the kind of stuff when I talk about when I say there's, like, the U.S. is the evil empire. Like, when people want to bring up other countries to me, I'm like, well, fuck, get the fuck out of here. Let's fix our fucking country first before you bring up North Korea and Russia. That's how I feel. I mean, my stance is very consistent because I tell people, if you're an immigrant from these countries and you went through, once again, I don't apologize for not supporting my oppressors. I will never vote for Joe Biden because he had policy that was oppressing me and my community. If you're from one of these countries and you went through hell from that country, yeah, I hear you out, bro. But if you're just some American fuck who from suburb that want to criticize other countries while pretending that America is amazing, I don't want to hear it. All right, I need to stop getting to tangents and wrap this up. All right, so the junta, he's talking about the torture they use, like the electric shock, the beatings, the simulated drowning, the executions, and other psychological abuse. The junta even operated death flights where political prisoners were loaded into planes and thrown out as the plane flew over the Atlantic Ocean. See, like, I know about Operation Condor, but when you go over the small details, it's still fucking like, wow. Like, wow, that's still crazy looking at all the details of it. Like, I knew about the torture and the killing, all that stuff, but it's hard to remember like all the methods they use, and it's kind of fucked up. I'm not gonna say this name. Last name Bonafini, director of the group of mothers of the Plaza in De Mayo, said the military first drew our children into the river a lot. Oh my God, that's fucked. Woo! Should I even read that or should I put this fucked up? So the military threw our children into the river alive, their feet trapped inside a bucket of cement. But the chorus began to wash ashore, so they decided to start dumping them in the open ocean. So that's children that they talking about there. I tell you, I'm very squeamish. This is why me being so squeamish and me being a baby is why I was able to radicalize, because I seen what happened in the Iraq War and I'm like, yep, fuck it, I'm done with this shit. That's all it took for me. So this is the last part here. Henry Kissinger and high-ranking U.S. officials gave full support to the Argentine military junta. This is why Kissinger need burning hell, urging them to hurry up and finish their brutal campaign of terror before the U.S. Congress cut the military aid, declassified U.S. files exposed 1970 backing for junta. Yep, and once again, if you talk about this kind of stuff, people call you conspiracy theorists for some reason. And you gotta remember, like, the U.S. government denied it for a very long time. And you've been labeled a conspiracy theorist. That's why I don't like people who just throw that term around. You know, like, you're just being agents of the state. So that's a great comment, A-Box. So we can wrap it up on that. That's a brief, powerful finish there. But I am very excited because 1 week from now, we'll have the official launch of the Fred Hampton Leftist podcast. Website be live, and you just see a lot of uploads and content from us on the YouTube side, Twitch. We'll be on internet radio as well. RJ, also my fellow Fred Hampton Leftist. I saw someone in the comments. I don't remember who, because that was a while ago. They was asking where to find RJ. You just see him. We just see us do a lot of collaboration on the Fred Hampton Leftist. Like, we're gonna have a show on Friday, and we also have the main panel that we do on Thursday as well. So I'm very excited about that, and you guys can look forward to seeing that. Is there anything that you want to add on, RJ? Anything you want to end it with before we sign off here?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, cool. Thank you guys for watching. This is the Progressive Martial Artist. Thank you for all the new followers and subscribers. If you're watching now, if you want to support the show, I appreciate it. Either way, this is Nick, the Progressive Martial Artist. My fellow Fred Hampton Leftist, RJ. We're signing out. Peace out.